The vast chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the final vote was cast. Councilor Ixnera, her tentacles quivering with tension, announced the results in a voice that echoed through the cavernous space. The motion passes. Operation Stellar Pruning will commence immediately. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Even those who had voted in favor seemed shocked that their decision had actually prevailed. The implications were staggering and terrifying. Light years away, on a blue-green planet called Earth, humans went about their daily lives, blissfully unaware of the cosmic axe that had just fallen. For centuries, they had dreamed of joining the galactic community. Little did they know that their first real interaction with alien life would be marked by unimaginable tragedy. Days passed, then weeks. The first signs that something was terribly wrong came from the distant colony worlds. Reports trickled in of mass illness among children, affecting species across dozens of planets. At first, it seemed like a natural disaster, a fast-spreading virus, perhaps. But as the death toll mounted, a horrifying pattern emerged. Dr. Sarah Chen, head of Earth's newly formed extraterrestrial medical response team, worked tirelessly to piece together the puzzle. Her eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep as she pored over the latest data. "It can't be," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "This isn't natural. It's targeted." Her colleague, Dr. Ramirez, leaned over her shoulder, his face pale. "You're right. Look at the genetic markers. This is an engineered pathogen, designed to affect only pre-adolescent individuals across multiple species." The realization hit them like a physical blow. This was no accident. Someone, or something, had deliberately unleashed this plague upon the galaxy's children. As the truth spread, panic gripped Earth and its colonies. Frantic parents rushed their children to hospitals, but medical science seemed helpless against this unknown threat. The streets of every major city filled with protesters, demanding action from their governments. In Washington, D.C., President Amelia Harrington faced the most difficult press conference of her career. Her voice shook as she addressed the world. "My fellow citizens, we have confirmed that this tragedy is not a natural occurrence. We have intercepted communications that point to a deliberate act by an organization known as the Galactic Council." The revelation sent shockwaves through human society. Aliens existed, and their first act had been to target the most vulnerable members of countless species. Across the planet, grief turned to rage. Humanity had long imagined its first contact with extraterrestrial life would be a moment of wonder and hope. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy more cruel and incomprehensible than any they had ever known. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Chen Wei of the United Earth Defense Fleet received the order he had both dreaded and anticipated. "Admiral," President Harrington's voice crackled over the secure channel, "you are hereby authorized to commence Operation Cosmic Shield. Protect our colonies, gather intelligence, and prepare for potential hostile contact." Chen Wei's jaw clenched as he acknowledged the command. He had joined the fleet dreaming of peaceful exploration. Now he would lead humanity's first warships into the stars. As Earth's military mobilized, scientists and engineers worked around the clock to adapt their technology for space warfare. Weapons designed for terrestrial conflicts were hastily modified to function in the vacuum of space. In laboratories across the globe, the brightest minds struggled to develop a cure for the alien plague. They knew that saving the children, all children, regardless of species, was the key to preventing this conflict from spiraling into a war of extermination. Amidst the chaos, small acts of kindness bloomed. Humans opened their homes to desperate alien refugees who had fled to Earth seeking help for their sick children. These moments of compassion stood in stark contrast to the cruelty that had sparked this crisis. As the first human warships broke atmosphere, their crews were filled with a mix of fear and determination. They carried with them the hopes of their entire species and the weight of a terrible responsibility. Humanity was about to make its mark on the galactic stage, driven by an unquenchable thirst for justice. The stars awaited, and with them, a reckoning that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. As Earth's warships ventured into the unknown, the planet itself was gripped by a frenzy of activity. In every corner of the globe, humans united with a single purpose: to fight back against the unimaginable cruelty inflicted upon the galaxy's children. Dr. Sarah Chen barely slept as she led a team of the world's top scientists in their race to find a cure. Her lab in Geneva had become a hive of activity, with researchers from every nation working side by side. "We're close," she muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. "I can feel it." Nearby, her young assistant, Raj, let out a whoop of excitement. "Dr. Chen, look at this." He pointed to a screen filled with complex molecular structures. "The alien pathogen. It's not just targeting children. It's evolving, adapting to each species it encounters." Sarah's eyes widened as she studied the data. "This is beyond anything we've ever seen. It's not just a weapon. It's alive." Her mind raced with the implications. If we can understand how it adapts, we might be able to create a universal vaccine. As the scientific community rallied, Earth's military prepared for a conflict unlike any in human history. Admiral Chen Wei stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, humanity's most advanced warship. The vast emptiness of space stretched before him, beautiful and terrifying. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're picking up a distress signal. It's not human." Chen Wei's heart raced. "On screen," he ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that looked like a cross between an octopus and a tree. Its bark-like skin was pale, and its voice warbled with fear. "Please," it begged in broken English, "help us. The Council, they come. They want to finish what they started." Without hesitation, Chen Wei made his decision. "Plot and intercept course. All hands. Battle stations." He turned to his crew, his eyes blazing with determination. "Today, we show the galaxy that humanity stands for all innocent life." Back on Earth, governments grappled with the monumental task of preparing their populations for potential alien contact and conflict. In a historic address, the United Nations Secretary-General spoke to a global audience. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words, "we stand at a crossroads of cosmic significance. We have been thrust into a galactic community in the worst way imaginable. But we will not cower. We will not break. We will show the stars what it means to be human." As she spoke, images flashed across screens worldwide. Soldiers training with newly developed energy weapons, massive space elevators under construction, and countless volunteers lining up to join Earth's rapidly expanding space fleet. In orbit, the first alien refugees began to arrive. Massive ships, cobbled together from outdated technology, carried the desperate survivors of worlds ravaged by the Council's attack. Earth opened its arms, setting aside old prejudices in the face of a greater threat. Amelia Zhang, a nurse in New York, found herself treating a young alien child. Its skin was blue and scaly, and it had 4 eyes that blinked at her in fear. "It's okay," she soothed, her translator conveying her words. "You're safe now. We'll make you better." As she worked, Amelia couldn't help but marvel at how familiar the child's fear and pain were, despite its alien appearance. In that moment, she understood the true meaning of their fight. Far from Earth, the UES Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a small rocky planet. The scene that greeted them was one of horror. A massive Galactic Council ship loomed over the planet, firing beams of sickly green energy into its atmosphere. "Life signs on the planet are dropping rapidly, sir," the science officer reported, her voice shaking. Admiral Chen Wei's fists clenched. "No more," he growled. "Weapons officer, target their main cannon. Fire when ready." The Defiant's advanced weaponry roared to life, catching the Council ship completely by surprise. As the battle raged, a message was broadcast across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Chen Wei of Earth. We will not stand idly by while you murder innocent children. Your reign of terror ends now." It was humanity's first strike against the Galactic Council, the opening salvo in a war that would reshape the galaxy. As news of the battle spread, a spark of hope ignited across countless worlds. Earth, a planet many had never heard of, had stood up to the Council's tyranny. The war for the galaxy's future had begun, and humanity was determined to write a new chapter in cosmic history, one of justice, compassion, and the indomitable spirit of life itself. The news of Admiral Chen Wei's victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes gathered around communication devices, hungry for any information about the mysterious humans who had dared to challenge the Galactic Council. On Earth, the reaction was a mix of pride and apprehension. In the streets of every major city, crowds cheered and waved flags. But in the halls of power, leaders grappled with the enormous consequences of their actions. President Harrington stood before the United Nations Security Council, her face grim. "Make no mistake," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "We have entered a war we cannot easily walk away from. The Council will retaliate, and we must be ready." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the building. A young aide burst into the room, his face pale. "Madam President, we're detecting multiple wormholes opening in our solar system. It's the Council. They're here." Panic gripped the room, but Harrington remained calm. "This is what we've prepared for," she said firmly. "Initiate Operation Cosmic Shield. And get me Admiral Chen Wei." In orbit around Jupiter, Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet faced its first true test. Captain Zara Okoye of the UES Thunderchild watched in awe as the massive Council warships emerged from swirling vortexes of light. "All hands, battle stations," she ordered, her Nigerian accent crisp and clear. "Remember your training. Remember why we fight." The space around Jupiter erupted into a dazzling display of energy weapons and explosions. Earth's ships, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that caught the Council forces off guard. Meanwhile, on the surface of Mars, Dr. Sarah Chen and her team worked frantically in a newly established research base. They had made a breakthrough in understanding the Council's bioweapon, but time was running out. "The pathogen is like nothing we've ever seen," Sarah explained to her team. "It doesn't just attack the body. It rewrites DNA itself. But if we can reverse the process..." She trailed off, her eyes widening with a sudden realization. "What is it, Doctor?" Raj asked, leaning forward. Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard. "We've been looking at this all wrong. We don't need to destroy the pathogen. We need to reprogram it. Turn their weapon against them." As the scientists raced against time, the battle above Mars intensified. Captain Okoye's ship took a direct hit, sending her crew scrambling to contain the damage. "Shields at 30%, her tactical officer reported grimly. "We can't take much more of this." Zara gritted her teeth. "We hold the line," she said firmly. "Earth is counting on us." Just when all seemed lost, a new wormhole opened. But instead of Council reinforcements, a ragtag fleet of alien ships emerged, the very refugees Earth had sheltered. Their leader, a towering insectoid being, appeared on the Thunderchild's view screen. "We stand with Earth," it clicked in its native language, instantly translated. "You showed us kindness. Now we show you our strength." The tide of battle turned as the alien refugees joined the fray, their strange ships confusing the Council's targeting systems. Back on Earth, in a small hospital in Rio de Janeiro, a young nurse named Carlos watched over a group of alien children. They were scared, sick, and far from home. But as he read them stories and played simple games, he saw something remarkable. They were laughing. "You see," he said softly, more to himself than anyone else, "we're not so different after all." In Geneva, the UN Secretary-General addressed the world once more. "Today, we face our greatest challenge," she said, her voice steady. "But we do not face it alone. Across the stars, others stand with us. Together, we fight not just for humanity, but for the future of all sentient life. As she spoke, images flashed across screens worldwide. Alien children playing with human kids in refugee centers, scientists of different species working side by side, and the combined fleet defending Mars against the Council's onslaught. On the Red Planet, Dr. Sarah Chen's team made their final preparations. They had done it. They had reprogrammed the Council's bioweapon. Now, instead of harming children, it would protect them, strengthening their immune systems against any future attacks. "We're ready," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "Uploading the cure now." As the modified pathogen was released into Mars' atmosphere, a cheer went up from the research team. It would take time to spread, but they had done it. They had turned the tide. In space, the battle raged on. But now, for the first time since the conflict began, hope burned bright in the hearts of Earth's defenders. They were no longer just fighting against something. They were fighting for a future where all species could live together in peace. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage. They had shown compassion in the face of cruelty, unity in the face of division, and strength in the face of overwhelming odds. As the stars wheeled overhead, the people of Earth and their new alien allies steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. The Galactic Council had started this war, but humanity was determined to finish it, and to build a better galaxy in its wake. As the modified pathogen spread through Mars' atmosphere, its effects were nothing short of miraculous. Alien children who had been on the brink of death began to recover, their bodies strengthened by the reprogrammed virus. Dr. Sarah Chen watched in awe as the results came in from across the planet. "It's working," she breathed, her eyes shining with tears of joy. "We did it." But their victory was short-lived. An urgent message came through from Earth's Defense Command. The Galactic Council, enraged by the humans' interference, had decided to take drastic action. They were sending their most powerful weapon, a planet-killer ship known as the Worldbreaker. Admiral Chen Wei, his ship battered but unbroken, received the news with grim determination. "All ships, form up," he ordered. "We make our stand at Earth. We die, so others may live." As the combined fleet of human and alien ships moved to defend humanity's homeworld, a daring plan was set in motion. Captain Zara Okoye of the UES Thunderchild volunteered for a mission that many considered suicidal. "We'll take a small team aboard the Worldbreaker," she explained to her crew. "If we can disable its main weapon from the inside, we might just save Earth." On the surface of the blue planet, people watched the skies with a mixture of fear and hope. In New York City, Nurse Amelia Zhang held the hand of an alien child as they looked up at the stars together. "Are we going to be okay?" the child asked, its 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Amelia squeezed its hand gently. "We have to believe we will be," she said softly. "Hope is the strongest weapon we have." In orbit, the Worldbreaker emerged from hyperspace, its massive form dwarfing even the largest ships in Earth's defense fleet. Its main cannon began to glow with an ominous light, preparing to fire a blast that could crack the planet's crust. Admiral Chen Wei's voice crackled over the comms. "All ships, engage. We need to buy Captain Okoye time." The space around Earth erupted into chaos as hundreds of ships clashed in a desperate battle. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, and explosions bloomed like deadly flowers among the stars. Meanwhile, Captain Okoye and her small team managed to sneak aboard the Worldbreaker using a cloaked shuttle. They moved swiftly through the massive ship's corridors, their hearts pounding with every step. "We're approaching the main reactor," Zara whispered into her comm. "Stand by for." Her words were cut off as alarms blared throughout the ship. They had been detected. Back on Earth, President Harrington stood in the Oval Office, her face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens showing the battle raging above. She turned to her advisors, her expression resolute. "If this is to be our last stand," she said firmly, "let it be one that future generations will sing about for centuries to come." In laboratories around the world, scientists worked feverishly to replicate Dr. Chen's cure and adapt it for distribution on a galactic scale. They knew that ending the threat to the galaxy's children was their best hope for lasting peace. High above, the battle reached its climax. The Worldbreaker's cannon was moments away from firing when suddenly its lights flickered and died. Inside the massive ship, Captain Okoye and her team had succeeded in overloading its main reactor. "We did it," Zora gasped, her voice weak but triumphant. "Tell Earth. Tell them we." Her transmission cut off as the Worldbreaker began to break apart from within. The combined fleet scattered to avoid the debris, watching in awe as the seemingly invincible ship collapsed in on itself. As the remnants of the Worldbreaker drifted in space, a stunned silence fell over the battlefield. Then, one by one, the Council ships began to retreat, their will to fight broken by the destruction of their greatest weapon. On Earth, cheers erupted as news of the victory spread. But amidst the celebration, there was a somber recognition of the sacrifice made by Captain Okoye and her brave team. In the aftermath of the battle, something unprecedented occurred. A transmission was received from the Galactic Council, not a threat, but a request for negotiations. The humans' bravery and their miraculous cure had forced the Council to reconsider their actions. As representatives from Earth prepared to meet with the Council, there was a sense that a new chapter in galactic history was about to be written. Humanity had proven itself not just as warriors, but as healers and unifiers. The stars no longer seemed cold and distant, but full of possibility. And as the people of Earth looked to the future, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as humans, but as part of a greater galactic community. The gleaming spires of the Galactic Council's headquarters loomed before the human delegation as they stepped off their ship. President Harrington led the group, her face a mask of determination. Beside her walked Dr. Sarah Chen, carrying a case containing vials of the miracle cure. As they entered the Grand Council chamber, beings from 1,000 worlds turned to stare, some with curiosity, others with poorly hidden hostility. The humans stood tall, knowing the weight of their actions had brought them to this moment. High Counselor Ixnera, her tentacles now drooping with exhaustion, called the session to order. "We are here," she announced, her voice echoing through the chamber, "to address the actions of the species known as humans and their interference in Council matters." President Harrington stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "We did not come here to apologize," she began. "We came to demand justice for the countless children your actions have harmed." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. Many had never heard anyone speak to the Council with such boldness. "You claim to represent order in the galaxy," Harrington continued, "but your actions have brought only suffering. We offer a different path." She nodded to Dr. Chen, who opened her case. The vials of the cure gleamed under the chamber's lights. "This is our gift to the galaxy," Sarah explained, her voice filled with passion. "A cure for the virus you unleash. But more than that, it's a symbol of what can be achieved when we work together, rather than destroy each other." As Sarah spoke, screens around the chamber lit up. They showed images from Earth. Alien children playing with humans, scientists of different species working side by side, the combined fleet that had defended Earth. "We may be new to your galactic community," Harrington said, "but we bring with us something you seem to have forgotten: compassion." The chamber erupted into chaos. Some council members shouted in anger, others in support. Through it all, High Counselor Ixnera watched the humans with an unreadable expression. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the planet was holding its breath. In homes, offices, and public squares, people gathered around screens, watching the proceedings unfold. In a small apartment in Tokyo, an elderly man named Hiroshi Tanaka sat with his granddaughter, Yuki. On his lap was a young alien child, one of the many refugees Earth had taken in. "Do you think they'll listen?" Yuki asked, her eyes wide with worry. Hiroshi smiled gently. "They must," he said. for all our sakes. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Chen Wei stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the distant stars. He thought of Captain Okoi and the others who had given their lives. "Your sacrifice will not be in vain," he whispered. Back in the council chamber, the debate raged on. Some members argued for severe punishment of the humans, while others called for a complete restructuring of the council itself. As the arguments reached a fever pitch, a small, previously silent member of the council floated forward. It was a being of pure energy, known as a luminary, one of the oldest and wisest species in the galaxy. "We have lost our way," the luminary's thoughts echoed in everyone's minds. "These humans, in their brief time among the stars, have shown us what we once were and what we could be again." The chamber fell silent. Even the most hardened council members couldn't ignore the wisdom of a luminary. High Counselor Zixnera slowly rose. "Perhaps," she said, her voice heavy with the weight of realization, "it is time for change." What followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. The humans shared their cure freely, and in return, advanced technologies were made available to Earth. But more importantly, a new era of cooperation began. The Galactic Council was reformed, with Earth given a seat at the table. Other, previously ignored species were also welcomed, their voices finally heard. As news of these changes spread across the stars, hope blossomed on countless worlds. The galaxy was healing, not just from a virus, but from millennia of fear and division. On Earth, celebrations erupted. But amidst the joy, there was a sense of responsibility. Humanity had been given a chance to help shape the future of the galaxy. It was an opportunity they were determined not to waste. As the sun set on this historic day, people across Earth looked to the stars with new eyes. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but also dangers. Yet they faced the future unafraid, knowing that together there was nothing they couldn't overcome. The story of humanity's stand against the Galactic Council would be told for generations to come. It was a tale of courage, compassion, and the indomitable spirit of life itself. And it was only the beginning. 5 years had passed since Earth joined the reformed Galactic Council. The changes rippling across the galaxy were both profound and unexpected. On a bustling space station orbiting Jupiter, humans and aliens worked side by side, their differences forgotten in the pursuit of common goals. Dr. Sarah Chen, now head of the Interstellar Medical Exchange, hurried through the station's corridors. Her team had made a breakthrough in adapting the miracle cure to work for even more species. As she entered the conference room, she was greeted by a diverse group of beings from across the galaxy. "We've done it," she announced, her eyes shining with excitement. "The cure can now be tailored to any known species in the galaxy within hours." The room erupted in cheers, tentacles and appendages waving in celebration. It was moments like these that reminded Sarah of how far they'd come. Meanwhile, on a distant world called Sarax, a joint human-alien team was helping to rebuild a civilization devastated by the Council's previous actions. Leading the effort was Carlos, the once young nurse from Rio, now a seasoned diplomat. As he worked alongside the local Saraxians, their chitinous bodies glinting in the alien sunlight, Carlos couldn't help but marvel at the change in their relationship. 5 years ago, "We didn't even know you existed," he said to his Caraxian colleague. "Now look at us." The Caraxian clicked its mandibles, and what Carlos had learned was a sign of agreement. "Your people have taught us much about resilience and hope," it replied. Back on Earth, in the sprawling United Galaxy Academy in Nairobi, young humans and aliens studied together, preparing for a future among the stars. In one classroom, an eager group gathered around their teacher, Admiral Chen Wei, now retired from active duty. "Remember," Chen Wei said, his voice carrying the weight of experience, "power is nothing without compassion. It was not our weapons that won the war, but our humanity." As he spoke, a young luminary student glowed brightly, absorbing the wisdom. The sight of the energy being in a human classroom would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Now, it was a symbol of how far they'd come. In orbit high above, the UES Thunderchild II prepared for its maiden voyage. On its bridge stood Captain Yuki Tanaka, granddaughter of Hiroshi. She thought of her grandfather, who had passed away the year before, and the alien child he had cared for. Now her adopted brother, and the ship's chief engineer. "All systems ready, Captain," her brother's voice came through the comm, a slight alien accent coloring his words. Yuki smiled. "Take us out, Mr. Tanaka. Let's see what's out there." As the Thunderchild II glided out of Earth's orbit, it passed a massive construction project, the beginnings of a Dyson sphere, a joint effort between humans and their new alien allies to harness the full power of the sun. On the far side of the galaxy, a team of human and alien archaeologists made a startling discovery. In the ruins of an ancient civilization, they found evidence of a long-lost species, one that had once united the galaxy in peace before falling to internal strife. As news of the discovery spread, many saw it as a warning and a challenge. Could the new alliance forged in the wake of near tragedy succeed where this ancient civilization had failed? The question weighed heavily on President Harrington as she prepared to address the Galactic Council. Though no longer Earth's leader, she had been asked to speak on this momentous occasion. As she stood before the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds, Harrington felt the weight of history on her shoulders. "5 years ago, we stood on the brink of annihilation," she began. "Today, we stand on the threshold of a new golden age. But we must remain vigilant." She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces, faces that had become familiar, even friendly. The children we fought to save are now growing up in a galaxy more united and peaceful than ever before. It is for them that we must continue our work. As Harrington spoke, on planets across the galaxy, beings of all kinds looked up at their skies with hope. The stars were no longer distant and cold, but full of possibility and new friendships. In a small park in Geneva, near where the cure was first developed, a statue had been erected. It depicted a human hand and various alien appendages, all clasped together. The plaque below read, "In memory of those we lost, and in hope for those yet to come." As the sun set on another day in this new era of galactic cooperation, the people of Earth and their alien allies faced the future with determination and optimism. They had overcome hatred and fear to forge a new path. And while challenges undoubtedly lay ahead, they would face them as they had faced all others, together. A decade had passed since Earth's integration into the galactic community. The universe, once a place of fear and conflict, had transformed into a realm of endless possibility. On a small blue-green planet in the Andromeda Galaxy, a historic event was about to unfold. The planet, named Novaterra, was the first joint colony established by humans and their alien allies. Today, it would host the Galactic Unity Conference, a gathering of representatives from every known sentient species. As ships from across the cosmos descended onto Novaterra's spaceport, the air buzzed with excitement. Among the arrivals was the UES Harmony, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel. Its crew, a mix of humans and aliens, represented the new face of galactic cooperation. Captain Zora Chen, daughter of the legendary Dr. Sarah Chen, stood on the bridge, watching the alien ships land. "It's hard to believe how far we've come," she mused to her first officer, a towering insectoid being named Crix. Crix clicked his mandibles in agreement. "Indeed, my people once feared humans. Now we cannot imagine the galaxy without you." As they disembarked, Zara noticed a familiar face in the crowd, Carlos, the former nurse turned diplomat. His hair had grayed, but his eyes still sparkled with the same warmth and compassion that had helped forge the first bonds between humans and alien refugees so many years ago. "Captain Chen," Carlos called out, waving. "Your mother sends her regards. She wanted to be here, but she's overseeing the launch of the new medical satellite network in the Orion Arm." Zora smiled, thinking of her mother's tireless work. The cure that had once saved the galaxy's children had evolved into a comprehensive healthcare system that spanned thousands of worlds. As the conference began, delegates from across the universe gathered in a grand amphitheater. The structure itself was a marvel of joint engineering, incorporating architectural styles from 100 different worlds. The current High Counselor, a being of pure light energy known as Lumina, floated to the center stage. Her voice resonated in the minds of all present. We gather here today to celebrate not just our unity, but the journey that brought us together. As Lumina spoke, holographic displays lit up around the amphitheater, showing key moments from the past decade. The reformation of the Galactic Council, the first joint scientific expeditions, the establishment of the Intergalactic University, and the creation of the Galactic Peace Corps. But our greatest achievement, Lumina continued, is not measured in technological advancements or territorial expansions. It is measured in understanding, in compassion, in our ability to see ourselves in those different from us. In the audience, an elderly Zixnera, the former High Counselor who had once sanctioned the attack on children, listened with tears in her eyes. Beside her sat Amelia Jong, the nurse who had cared for alien children during Earth's darkest hours. Their unlikely friendship symbolized the healing that had taken place across the galaxy. As the conference progressed, discussions ranged from plans for exploring uncharted regions of the universe to strategies for uplifting pre-spaceflight civilizations ethically. The atmosphere was one of boundless optimism and shared purpose. During a break in the proceedings, Zura found herself standing next to a young Exaraxian. The alien child looked up at her with wide, compound eyes. "Is it true," the child asked, "that humans once saved the galaxy?" Zura knelt down, smiling gently. "It's true that we played a part," she said. "But the real story is how the galaxy saved itself, by choosing unity over division, hope over fear." As the conference drew to a close, a surprise announcement was made. The assembled delegates had unanimously voted to launch the most ambitious project in galactic history, a massive Ark ship that would carry representatives from every species on a 100-year journey to the Andromeda Galaxy. The project, named Harmony Eternal, would serve as a testament to how far they had come and a beacon of hope for the future. As news of the project spread, excitement rippled across the cosmos. On Earth, in the small park in Geneva where the Statue of Unity stood, people gathered to celebrate. Among them was a very old Hiroshi Tanaka, who had lived to see his dream of a united galaxy become reality. Looking up at the stars, Hiroshi smiled. The universe that had once seemed so dark and threatening now shone with the light of billions of souls working together. Humanity had not just found its place among the stars. It had helped to create a new cosmic family. As the first stars began to twinkle in Novaterra's evening sky, Captain Zura Chen raised a glass with delegates from 100 worlds. "To the future," she toasted. "May we forever remember the lessons of our past and the promise of our unity." The gathered beings cheered, their voices joining in a harmony that echoed across the planet and out into the waiting universe, a universe that was no longer a battlefield, but a home for all.